Hi everyone, welcome to today's extended altcoin Bible. I'm going to go against the grain. I've said it for a couple of weeks, especially with our mastermind clients, and we also shared this insight. So Joe and I have a bit of consensus here that we think the market is preparing to create a bit of a local top here, and we're going to move back a little bit lower. Of course, we could be wrong there. We are expecting potentially a pulse up to the higher 90,000s, maybe into the 100,000 level, but I just think the market is going to front run that a little bit, and we're starting to see a lot of bullish catalysts and events hit the market without us actually moving higher with much gusto here. And we've had a tremendous run from the 70,000 level up to where we are now, and we think as we're now contending with some of these Fibonacci retracements on Bitcoin, Fibonacci extension levels rather on Bitcoin, up towards that 100,000 mark, I think it's a really good spot to just check yourself and make sure you're not over leveraged and have too much risk in your portfolio. Right now, it's really Bitcoin's market. You can be looking at Solana and Sui in that mix as well, but removing a bit of risk here just feels right. And last night we did share it in the bi-weekly, that thesis on why we think that is around some technical indicators and also some fundamental aspects as well. So if you're a VIP watching this is what you get at the next stage of your development. If you want to join the mastermind group, just let the team know. Also, for anyone watching this who's not a client of ours yet, make sure to contact the team to have a look what we offer at the VIP level. And then once you are really acquainted with how we do things, we have the advanced mastermind course and the Discord, which is just phenomenal. We have a lot of things going on up here, which just provides daily insights and around strategy and how to approach the market. All right, let's crack into the charts because that's what you all want to see. I'm going to start with Bitcoin here, just with a minor market overview. So I see Bitcoin consolidating into this wedge pattern. You can draw flags and all kinds of things here, but this is just for me simply is what I'm seeing. I'm on the 8 hour. I'm going to stick to this time frame. Gives me a bit more nuance, but also not going too low. Which is really important. As we can see here, Bitcoin's had a go. It really has had a go to, really move higher. You can see it's been sold into quite heavily. There's not much momentum behind it. I think this is the do or die candle here. We could have a little bit of a pullback here before we have that pulse higher, sure. But right now is when Bitcoin wants to strike. And why it wants to is because I'm starting to see the momentum really begin to wane away as price is grinding higher. So that's a bearish divergence beginning to develop. And that was the thesis I guess Joe and I are looking at here is we're seeing the momentum fall away while Bitcoin is rising to this huge psychological resistance level with everyone screaming 100K and higher. And we've seen this via cycles previously that, it's not a really good mix and the risk reward isn't that great here. So it is probably a good time to analyze that risk and go a little bit more defensive. So if we get a close above that 92,500 region, so outside of this pattern here, but just really because we're sitting on top of this volume support, that's a really good sign. But I want to get above this previous little cluster of candles here, and a close above that 92,500 is going to do that. What the dynamic here at the moment is, unfortunately for altcoin holders, is all the focus is on Bitcoin, and altcoins are really having a hard time of it, but with Bitcoin dominance, everyone wants to be in Bitcoin for potentially that 100K move. But what that also means is if Bitcoin falls here and rolls right over and has a move back to 80,000 or 70, high 70s, however you want to look at it, is altcoins are going to get smacked around the head. So with that oxygen being sucked out of altcoins, and we've had the meme coin mania as well, it's lining up really nicely for a pullback of that energy to the downside to grab some liquidity. So with that in mind, my bias is to the downside here. I think we start to fail and move lower, but with that in mind, I think we have to be very careful and look at these altcoin charts with that asterisk in mind. If Bitcoin falls over here, a lot of these altcoin charts are going to do the same, but probably harder. So it's really important to look at what has been strong relatively towards Bitcoin recently for looking at that strength and having that in mind as your framework to go, all right, these have been the strongest coins recently. They're probably the ones I want to buy on a dip. They're probably going to be shallower as well. So the value is quite strong there. You can look in the BTC pair charts also. But I'm looking at Solana here as my danger zone. Now, I think Solana and Sui are both a little bit in that category. What I want to bring here, the nuance, is that Solana and Sui have essentially been the strongest coins in the market for an extended period of time. So they're where I'm really focused, and I want to concentrate my capital, but I'm looking for value a little bit lower. I'm seeing danger up here. The risk reward's just not there. Moving back into Bitcoin makes sense. But Solana here, you can just see the overextension of this move. So we've had that pulse higher down up towards that all-time high, couldn't breach it, having a nice little pullback here. So I'm not expecting, anything crazy, below 200, but we definitely can see a contraction here, depending on what Bitcoin does. We're also seeing that momentum begin to fall a little bit lower. We had a really nice hit of the 80, then a lower high on that 74. So that's not what you really want to see at a top. But again, we're in the power zone up here at about that 73 level. So this could just be resetting. We could see momentum just level off here, find a bit of support, and then crack higher through that all-time high. But for mine, I'm just being a little bit cautious here around some of these large caps that have been really strong for a while. Stoke RSI also rolling over here, pitching downwards. So, eventually it's funny, like on the daily especially, just some of these longer term moving averages are really, really important. And I'm going to change this over to the 10. A lot of these longer term moving averages are really important to pay attention to over time because they come back to them. No matter what happens, there's always going to be volatility that likely gravitates it back towards the average. That's where people want to that's where people see value rather. It's where they want to be buying, especially in an uptrend. You can see tag, 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 all through here, tag, tag, tag. So if you were just to set, wondering where to set bids, you'd be looking at volume, you'd be looking at Fibonacci retracements, but having a look at these, shorter term moving averages, the 10 EMA, also the 20 SMA, down at these kind of levels. So I see value here, 224, and you could go all the way through this volume pocket, 210, 215, and then down finally at 205, 204. If you feel all those bids, I think you can be very, very happy with yourself that you've captured maybe a 14, 15% downwards move on one of the strongest cryptos in the market. That is golden, especially in a bull market. That's buying the dip. That's what you want to be really savvy about doing. Same with SUI over here. And I'm going to share a couple of charts here because I think a couple look really good and a couple look sort of, on the fence. And I'm just cautious of Bitcoin's strength here. SUI has been really, really strong for a very, very long time. And I'm seeing the same thing with Solana. It's down on the 8 hour, it's trying to build this pennant up here or the triangle again, however you want to look at it, maybe a flag. But I'm kind of seeing an ascending wedge here. And I'm quite confident that this is going to break to the downside simply because the momentum is just falling away. Same on the daily. I just think it makes sense. And also against the Bitcoin chart, it is breaking down against that strength. So it's very clear that people are moving from these altcoins back into Bitcoin. And this is where you could get really stuck if you're suddenly a meme coin maximalist after this little period of time. So just be a bit careful here. SUI, I think, like Solana, is going to have a really nice and quick relative bounce out of whatever comes next. Also, I could be wrong here and we could find support on this 10 and also the base of this pattern and we could just rip higher short. But the momentum just isn't saying that to me just yet. I'd be waiting for the RSI to be getting down to the midpoint of that 50 level to be more confident. And I think something like this is probably going to happen, maybe a little bit lower. And again, this is how you can structure your bids along these Fibonacci retracement levels. Certainly something I'm paying attention to. Now, again, in this environment, it's a bit difficult picking cherry ripes and there's been noise on this chart, but I just want to illustrate what a good overall chart should look like. And it's how we picked Beam before it did what it's doing. And you see the squiggles that I've got here, but Beam changed the story on its chart. There's big downwards move here, this vicious downtrend, hit, hit, hit. But then it changed the story around here where it created a higher high, higher low. So that's a new trend through there. You can just see it's just moving up nicely, higher high up here as well. And it's kind of done exactly what we wanted it to do last week, or at least in the Masterminds whenever I did this chart last. It's done exactly what we wanted to do, come back and made a new higher high up here. So this is a really nice new trend. And I think Beam is destined in the short to midterm to be up here at that 20, essentially on par with the newsletter sell regions at the range high. So again, if you weren't, I know if you're watching this, you'll have these videos on demand and you will have also a subscription to our newsletter, which you can see at the end of the month where we're kind of thinking these cryptos are going to end up. And that's where we're positioned. So if Beam were to rip through here, I think that's where to get aggressive on this horizontal up here above this volume support. But there's really not a lot above, stopping Beam from going higher. Beam is one of our gaming picks, at least for this cycle. But that's what a really positive chart should look like. Now, I fully expect Beam to maybe come back down to 20 cents, 20 and a half cents, something like that, in this region in here, if Bitcoin has a pretty sizable pullback of 10 to 20, even 30%. Could go a little bit lower too, back to these main moving averages down here. But that is what I'm looking for in a positive chart. So for now, Beam looks incredible, still my cherry ripe. She's building for a much larger move. Dogecoin, interesting here as well, because of its narrative with the Department of Government Efficiency in the United States with Elon Musk. I'm always cautious of meme coins when they're overextended this much. It is, I guess you could say, it's one to watch or a cherry ripe here, but just wanted to put it on because this is one of the better looking charts right now. However, very similar to Solana and others, the momentum just keeps ticking lower while it's making a lower high and it's grappling at support here. So I think a bit of a slow bleed is probably going to happen here, and then we have this move down, and then maybe inverse head and shoulders out of it at some point. But the RSI down here is gravitating it back towards the 50. If we're in a nice uptrend, we should be moving up to the high RSI, back to the 70, maybe rolling up again, but back to the 50. But we should never be losing the 50. We want to find that strength and that liquidity on these pullbacks. Stochastic RSI also crossing over here. So I guess you could look at this as a danger zone, but also it's shaping up quite nicely here. If it was to run again higher, I wouldn't be surprised, because it has found a really nice spot here of liquidity, and it's got this bowl pattern it's trying to create here like that, and could roll higher on this crucial volume support. So that's the way I'm seeing the market here, guys. I think just be a little bit cautious, look for those bids a little bit lower. If we break 100K, reevaluate, but here that's how I see it. So hope you have a wonderful day. See ya. Bye-bye.